Welcome to Life Planning 101, brought to you by Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services in Eastland, Texas. Tune in every week as we share important information to help you and your family live life on purpose. Insurance, investments, legacy and tax planning, and much more. All covered now on Life Planning 101.
Here we are with another episode of Black and White Market Minute on Life Planning 101. Matt Ervin and Aaron Kennedy with you today on this wonderful Friday. Aaron, it never ceases to amaze me, the list of current events that we can add just gets longer and longer and longer. Every time we look for more certainty, we seem to end up with less. So this has been a huge week, noise overseas. Tell us a little bit about what's going on and some more domestically as well.
If we just look at the world, and it's been a horrible week. You know, the atrocities that's happening in Israel, Palestine. You know, there's a lot of devastation out there.
Sad.
And it's just gut-wrenching. We don't know really what's going to happen going forward. And it's news, and something will be done, something has to be done. But from there, how far does it escalate? Who knows?
Right.
Who really knows?
Well, we were talking earlier, we were talking about, guns, ammunition, etc. But I think at this point, it's like, we've sent them some, but has it even dipped into our reserves? Who the heck knows, and how much more is it going to take? So really all it does is creates a little bit of uncertainty, which is one more nugget of uncertainty in this, in the market.
Yeah, I thought it was interesting. You were saying earlier, has the defensive stocks moved?
Yeah. I think that was big in the news, right? They were saying, floods of it, but come to find out, did they really get flooded?
Yeah. We're spending quite a bit on defense, and we always have.
Mm-hmm.
And, looking around the world, we can see why. But whether we're ramping up right now or not, I don't know. Don't think so. I know we did send a lot of our older inventory over to Ukraine, but we're constantly producing. And, those stocks will be affected on things that we weren't planning for.
Right.
But it's already happened, and so it's going to be smooth sailing on the defensive stocks. One thing that I think is interesting is what happens if we do go to war. Our tanks do not run on batteries.
That's right.
There's no plug-in stations to charge our banks when we're overseas.
That's right.
So we did something, which is spend down our reserves.
Yeah.
So that is one area. If we do go into some kind of conflict, I think more than likely it'll affect oil
prices
more than anything else.
That's interesting. Yeah. So, and when you think about it, most things tie back to oil, because even if you think about how do those factories manufacture, it's usually not purely on green energy, right?
No.
So that's interesting.
Got to use it to make steel and everything else, and it's a big need.
Yeah,
that's
right. So we had some kind of bringing it back domestically. We had some of our inflation prints come out. What's going on with that?
Yeah, inflation's a little bit higher than we anticipated. Unless you work for the government, I don't think anybody's shocked by that. But it went higher, and it has been coming down. Now, of course, this is just 1 week. This is a blip in time, so it could automatically turn down the other way. And the numbers didn't blow through so much like, oh my gosh, nothing like that. It was just a lot higher than we anticipated. And this can affect a lot if it stays here or continues to creep up. I still don't even know if the Fed will increase interest rates. We're highly restrictive right now. Maybe it goes up another percentage point, but I really think they're going to try to hold out here and see what they've done so far. At least that's really what I'm hoping for.
Well, and they'd be smart too, right? Because when we think about that next level of uncertainty, if we're going to have to finance a war, do we really want to finance it another 25 basis points higher than we are today?
Exactly.
So there's something else to think about. And we kind of got into, earnings a little bit this week as well. I was at this morning, the bank earnings started to come out.
This is earnings, time of the quarter of earnings. So banks came out this morning, and they did well. They beat expectations. And you can kind of see that in the market. The Dow Jones is outperforming the NASDAQ. And we might have people in the office that weren't born the last time.
Hey,
This season,
hey,
Ash is one day.
Hey.
The banks have done well, and they've pushed up the market. And regardless of what your feelings are, we need a healthy banking system, whatever that might be, for our economy to work.
Right.
So, looking back in time, the banks did well.
Yeah. Well, it's that flow of money, right? I think people are still spending. That's obviously running up inflation. But even if the spending slows, you still need a healthy flow of money, because that means people aren't hoarding it or just not transacting. Because even if you get your inflation in order, you still have to have a healthy economy, right? Money has to change hands.
That's what the banks are doing. The Fed's trying to slow us down. So these are just an example, guys. But let's say you throw $100,000 in the bank.
Mm-hmm.
Bank turns around and loans out $500,000. Then that's the velocity of money. So seeing that the banks are beating on their earnings and their revenue, money is flowing, money is being created. So that is good. Yeah. That is very good sign. And over the next several weeks, we're going to see what parts of the economy are doing well, what parts of the economy are struggling. That's going to be the really interesting part of what's going on right now in our economy.
Well, and you think businesses, they'll still do long-term capital expenditures if they can make their profits.
Yes.
They don't like the higher cost of capital, but they can deal with it as long as it's not a variable cost of capital.
Yes,
right?
That's right.
So if we get a little certainty from the Fed, at least on, it's this higher for longer, just a pause or whatever gimmick they're talking this week, we may have some direction and some runway, if you will.
Okay. Think about corporate finance. And if you're a company and you're building a factory, if you make $1, you go through with it. Your return has to be greater than your cost of capital.
That's right.
And whether it's debt or stock or whatever that is, if you make $1, you go through it. So, it's actually a calculation. Doesn't matter if interest rates are 8.5, doesn't matter if they're 15, doesn't matter if they're 1. You make $1, you do the project.
That's right. So, profits, right?
Yeah, that's right. It's profits. And the higher interest rates are, you're more selective.
Sure.
But just think, if we're at the peak, I'm not saying we are, but if we're at the peak of interest rates, you build this factory knowing you can make $1 at these interest rates, and then they drop back down. Now we're making some money. Yeah. And it's a good time.
Well, and some of the people that are doing things now are doing it much more cash-centric, right? So they're able to get a jump start on some of those capital projects, and interest rates aren't necessarily affecting them. That's not to say for everybody.
Yeah.
But if you
every industry is different.
If you could get a 2-year jump on everybody else, would you?
Oh my gosh!
Yeah, right. So
that's what makes the world go around. That's what gives you that. The first step is so important.
Competitive edge, right?
Yeah, you're the first one out there. Here's a great example: Tesla versus Ford electric vehicles.
There you go.
Which one's doing well and which one's really struggling?
Right.
The first mover effect is huge.
Yeah,
so
that's
great point right there.
Well, and you mentioned Ford, and I don't know, have you? And I don't know how much you've looked into the strikes, but they expanded. Have you had any chance to see the impact of the auto strikes at all?
No, I was listening this morning, and it's pretty much at a standstill. I think Ford has said, "Hey, this is all we can do."
That's what I heard. Yep.
And just think, as of right now, with what they're doing, it's going to add, was it $2,500 for every vehicle comes out of your pocket.
Right. Right.
Out of your pocket. Yeah. Think of every single vehicle, $2,500 of that goes to the workers.
Yeah.
So it's a big number.
Yeah.
Big number. And I'm not saying I'm for it or against it, but at some point, the numbers matter. And, it's not uncommon to see a $100,000 vehicle. Heck, if you want a Ford 3/4 ton, you're going to spend $100,000.
Right.
How much further can you get? I don't know if I was speaking about this. I saw some numbers the other day. And it used to be, like in the 40s, about 12.5%, 20% of your money goes to purchasing a house.
Right.
Now you go to 2023, the average person spends 43% of their money To buy a car.
Buy a car.
What's broken, man? I mean, you don't have a house, so you park your car underneath a nice little bridge, and you live there. Something's broken.
Yep. Well, but too, it's the interest rate environment has been so low for so long.
Yeah.
They were able to run, Ford pickups up to 120 something thousand for the bells and whistles. So,
and they did that by selling a payment.
That's right.
They used to get 36, 48 months. 48 months was a long time on a car.
Right. And they're lasting longer.
Yeah.
Some of them.
And now we're getting to like a 30-year mortgage for a vehicle. Just pay it off over your lifetime.
Right. Did you know you can finance a living quarters horse trailer like a house, like a mortgage?
No.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's,
wow.
I don't know. That's
They're awfully nice.
Well, it is, but it's a home on wheels. Anyway, so, all right. So, we've got more earnings coming out. Obviously, that'll give us some direction of that's more of a backwards look, what happened, but that'll help us feel good. So, I think last time we talked, Santa Claus rally was a little bit on the fence, too early to tell the pure momentum of that. So we're still waiting, hanging out for that. But hopefully with some positive earnings, we'll see some positive market flows. But again, it's just that discipline through this uncertainty, and this week adds more of it. But I think they got the House Speaker figured out. I'm not sure if the vote got done or not, but they've got their nominee anyway. So.
Yeah, I think that was X'd last night.
Oh, it was?
I could be way off. I thought I saw something that was back. He backed out.
Oh, he did. Well, there you go then.
Still vacated.
Yeah.
I'm hoping I'm wrong on that, but I think still more uncertainty.
Okay. Well, then we're going to stick to our guns because we're earning some pretty good yield on our interest rates, and then our defensive equities are doing well, especially that exposure to the Dow. So, anyways, as always, if you have any questions about your personal portfolios or questions about the market things that we're not discussing you'd like us to be, let's talk about it. Let's get in front of it, and let's make this as interactive as we can, right? That'd be great.
So, holler at us.
Aaron, any last minute words before we wrap up today?
Man, just prayers to everybody being affected, out in Israel. And I hope they can figure out and keep people safe.
Yep.
Lots of families are affected, and we just really need to keep them in our prayers and look to support however we can.
Yep, I remember that. Well, thank you, Aaron, for those words. And that'll wrap up today's episode of Black and White Market Minute on Life Planning 101.
Thank you for joining us for Life Planning 101, brought to you by Smart Money Group and Kennedy Financial Services. If you have questions, you can email them to lifeplanning@kennedy-financial.com. Be sure to tune in next week for more Life Planning 101. The opinions expressed herein are those of the firm and are subject to change without notice. The opinions referenced are as of the date of publication and are subject to change due to changes in the market or economic conditions and may not necessarily come to pass. Any opinions, projections, or forward-looking statements expressed herein are solely those of the author, may differ from the views or opinions expressed by other areas of the firm, and are only for general informational purposes as of the date indicated. Securities offered through Calton & Associates Incorporated, a registered investment advisor, member FINRA SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Smart Money Group LLC. Kennedy Financial Services and Smart Money Group LLC are separate entities and are not owned or controlled by Calton & Associates Incorporated.